do the origins of our everyday English sayings reveal about how language and society has evolved? I'm Mike Loder.
And I'm Greg Campitelli.
Welcome to Beyond Education. Hello and welcome back to the program Beyond Education, where we will be unpacking and examining the way we teach, listen and learn from early education right through to university and beyond. And of course, while Enquiry Tracker is the presenting sponsor of this program, the opinions expressed in the following show are of course our own. But joining us today is my co-host and founder of Enquiry Tracker, Greg Campitelli. Greg, today's episode is interesting and we see a familiar face joining us as well.
It's about idioms.
What did you just call me?
We have a very familiar face in the studio. It's my brother, Steve Campitelli, who's also has a Masters in Applied Linguistics and joins us from the University of Melbourne. Hey, Steve.
Great to be back, guys.
Thank you so much for joining us. And,
Pleasure.
we're an academic program, so I appreciate you joining us today and running us through what we're seeing. Now, We've been talking about the evolution of English, and you guys are here to run us through a few idioms and things that we can sort of understand where, why, and how we got to where we are.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Steve, where does the word saying come from, for example?
Well, the word saying, the things we're talking about today, the idioms, they're generally short phrases that have a very particular contextual meaning, which isn't obviously or usually indicated by the literal meaning of the word.
So, for example?
So, for example, a wild goose chase, right? Doesn't literally mean you're chasing geese or being chased by geese for that matter. So it's a waste of time. It's not a successful pursuit.
Absolutely, absolutely. So where do the origins come from? I mean, obviously it can come from everywhere, but where do some of the big ones come from?
Right. As you point out, they can come from anywhere. A lot come from history. We get a lot from Shakespeare. We could run this program on Shakespeare alone.
So some examples from Shakespeare?
Cruel to be kind, break the ice.
All right.
We still use all the time.
Really?
Yeah, good riddance.
What is a good riddance?
Get lost.
Yeah.
Go away. Why riddance?
Well, I do know one that was steal your thunder. You know, that you've stolen my thunder. You've taken taken something.
As I often do.
Yeah, as you do. But as I understand, Steve, to steal one's thunder, the Shakespearean societies, the different drama theatres would actually literally steal the metal thunder that made the thunder sound as a bit of a joke and a bit of an inconvenience because they were quite expensive, and that's where you stole someone's thunder. It was actually quite literal.
I like that. Yeah, you bang and clash on it to make that sound effect. Very cool.
Pinch it. And just to point to that traction in language, we still use these sayings now. And they're 400 plus years old.
Yeah, they do. And I know in sport, Mike, they use a few, don't they?
Yes, throw in the towel, drop the ball. There's a few of them. I'm not exactly a sportsman.
Toe the line.
Toe the line.
Yeah, cooking, half-baked, boil over, cook the books, for example. But Steve, share us some that you know. Talk to us. I know you said a lot come from the Royal Navy and history. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, we get a lot of idiom from the Royal Navy, funnily enough.
Interesting.
And we still use today, and from history. So we'll talk about 5 in each area.
Okay.
We'll see if we know the meanings of them as a little bit of a start, and then I'll give you their origins.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Sounds good? Okay.
Great.
So we'll start with the Royal Navy, which is an institution with a very long history, going back to 1546.
We're talking about the British Navy, of course.
Correct, yep. To turn a blind eye.
Oh, well, that's when you want to ignore something, isn't it?
You want to ignore something or pretend you didn't see it.
So where did that come from?
So it sounds obvious, but it does have a backstory. In 1801, Horatio, Lord Nelson, was leading an attack in the Battle of Copenhagen, and a colleague, an Admiral Parker, was communicating with him to pull back. And he felt quite strongly that they could press forward and win the battle, which they did. And so he held the telescope up to his blind eye. He was blind in one eye.
Oh, that's a
and
classic.
pretended not to see the signals. Another one from is a long shot.
Well, when you want to try something,
yes, but it's very likely not going to work.
Probably will fail.
Probably will fail, right? So similarly, under attack, speaking of cannons, they were most effective at close range. So sometimes when preparing to engage, a ship would take a long shot to see if they could score an early hit.
Just an early win.
Yeah.
Sort of, testing the range, working out where they're going to go next. Yeah.
Now, speaking of ships, often I hear under the weather. Is that associated with the Royal Navy as well?
It is, yeah. So literally when a guy was sick, when a sailor was sick, they would, if they were taking pity on him, because it was a less pitiful time, they would let him go under the deck and literally be under the weather that could have hindered him getting better or even caused the sickness,
Certainly interesting, isn't it? And I like the fact that, again, we looked back 400 years. We're looking at the theatre. We are then turning our attention to the Navy and the military. It's interesting the way that,
Totally.
works.
Totally.
It's not just about the ropes.
The ropes, there's two there. Know the ropes, learn the ropes. So those ships of sail would use very complex rope systems and pulleys, mechanisms. New sailors would have to learn the ropes.
Right.
Experienced sailors knew the ropes.
Of course.
So when you became experienced, you'd know the ropes.
All right, and this is a good one.
Got one more for you.
Right.
Let the cat out of the bag.
Oh, that's an obvious one. When you tell someone a secret, you've told, when you may not have meant to do so.
Right, you've given it away.
Cat
You've
runs
given
off.
the game away.
Yeah, given away.
So this one is contested. There's a few explanations for this, but the one I'll run with is the one I like, if I can say that about this. So the cat of nine tails, you know what the cat of nine
It's the whip. It's with the 9 lashes on it.
literally with the nine
Yeah,
lashes.
Egypt and whatnot. And
Correct?
Yeah.
And it would leave marks on the poor man's back, which looked like cat scratches. That's where that name came from.
Yeah.
They kept that thing in a bag.
So
And
guess
if you
what?
did something wrong, you were
You let the cat out of the bag. Now I know one that often sounds a
got one,
bit
haven't you?
vulgar, isn't it? But it's not actually.
No.
It's freeze the balls off a brass monkey. So no, it's not. It's clean. Speaking of the Navy, they would store their cannonballs on a plate known as a brass monkey, and that's where the cannonballs would sit on. That's correct, isn't it, Steve?
Yeah.
And in the cold weather, that would shrink,
It was thought,
and
yeah.
the cannonballs could fall off because they were stacked like on a pyramid. And so if it shrank cold enough to freeze the balls off a brass monkey.
I'm with you. There you go. And I
you
like
go.
the way you both said that in unison. Very well done.
Talk to us about history.
History, the other one. So this is a few from history and from ancient history. The first one I'll give you is spill the beans.
To again, similar to cat out of the bag, we're telling the story. We're
Giving it
spilling
away,
things,
right?
giving away the information.
So this is thought to have come from ancient Greece, where they had a voting system of using different coloured beans for yes or no for a vote.
Oh, yeah.
And you could either, I guess, maybe someone broke the vase and that revealed the election, or they literally spilt the beans. This is the result.
This is the result. Now, Steve, one I want to put to you without notice, cross the Rubicon. I've always been fascinated about that one.
What does that mean?
Cross the Rubicon.
Yeah.
The threshold.
Yeah.
What?
Point of no return.
Point of no return.
Yeah, so the Rubicon was a river in northern Italy. Julius Caesar in 49 BC was returning from his posting in Gaul, currently France, and generals could not take armies into Italy.
That's right, it was illegal, wasn't it?
It was illegal and considered an act of war. And he did that. And as he was crossing to add another idiom to double up, he apparently said, the die is cast.
The die is cast.
Point of no return. So we've got 2 in 1 there.
That's very cool.
Pretty good, isn't it?
It's a great one, that one.
And one we were talking about before, Greg.
Oh, yes.
Mad as a Hatter.
Yeah.
Now, everyone thinks that comes from Alice in Wonderland, don't
Yes.
they? Yeah, the Mad as a Hatter, the Hatter wore the hat, right?
Mad Hatter, right? He was a character in Alice in Wonderland. But Lewis Carroll didn't get it from there. He would have got it from the fact that hatters in the 18th and 19th century...
Who made the hats.
Who made the hats. They converted the fur into hats or coats or whatever. Or hats, of course. Used a substance called mercury nitrate, which prolonged exposure to this substance gave them the shakes, mental instability, and so...
Mad as a hatter.
And of course, they wouldn't have known that at the time.
No.
How dangerous mercury was.
Of course,
And the impact
this
of
is
it.
great. Making a lot of hats, making a lot of money. All of a sudden, I'm a bit...
Got the
You could be caught red-handed sometimes, could you? So what does that one mean?
Yeah, it's a good one. Another good one. They're all good. An old English law which held that you could not butcher or kill an animal that wasn't yours. Makes sense. You
Yes.
don't want to go next door and grab the neighbour's sheep and kill it.
Seems the same today.
But the only... The only way, difference being, the only way you could be proven to have done so is to be literally caught with blood in your hands.
Interesting. There you go.
I know one that we often think is associated with American sport, going the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
But it's not, is it, Steve? It comes from another, American still, but another source.
I believe it's American. So American pilots were issued with, or their planes were issued with, 9 yards of ammunition.
Is this World War II we're talking?
World War II. And in a hot firefight, a hot engagement, they would give the whole 9 yards into the firefight, and that means to go the whole hog.
Go the whole hog. Go the whole hog. We could go forever on this one, couldn't we?
You guys are doing this off air as well. It's hilarious. But let's keep looking into the modern day.
Yeah.
And again, it's wonderful to look at history. This is a bit of a history lesson. It's an English lesson. And that's what I love about this episode.
It is. And the fact is that language evolves. That was the thing that led into this program, the evolution of language. You know, I've been on the program talking about the evolution of English before, so we know about this. That language does keep evolving. And so we have idioms like lol is becoming its own word. Rather than LOL, laugh out loud. It's lol is morphed into a word.
I was there when it was lots of love.
Yes. Lots of love.
Original texting.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yes.
old school.
He's very old.
We can take that offline, Mike, and talk about it later. So to take something offline, to remove it from the public sphere, It isn't rocket science. It's not hard. Chill.
Yes.
But I've got one from the youth of Greg and I, which evolves out of our youth. Have you heard this one? To jump the shark.
I have heard this one, to jump the shark, because as being part of the film and TV sort of narrative.
So what program was it from?
It was Happy Days.
Yeah.
And it was the Fonz.
It was Fonzarelli.
Towards the end of the series, I believe that they decided that the narrative of the episode would be that the Fonz was going to jump or ski jump over a live shark.
Correct.
And I think the audience was thrown by that because it just had nothing to do with the plot of the characters. It was just random.
Is that true?
It is. He's nailed it. That is completely true. And the meaning of the idiom is that a show or a creative endeavour has gone past its use by date. And anything that happens after that is on the downhill rather than the uphill.
Ah, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
So when you jump the shark, and I'm hoping Beyond Education is not jumping the shark just yet, that we've got a great listening
Maybe
audience.
this episode is
when we get Greg jumping over something, we'll know that that's when we've hit that point.
I hopefully our audience, Mike, has loved this episode as much as we have, because it's been amazing.
I've had a lot of fun chatting about it and learning about it. And what's great is that when you can have fun and learn, yes, it can happen, guys. It's just so nice. So I appreciate you jumping up and having a chat to us today.
Love it.
It's been great, hasn't
Thanks
it?
for having me.
And we might give it our best shot in our next episode. We might even hit the books, and we might even pass with flying colours.
Here we go. Now let's get your top tips to finish the episode.
Well, I just gave
I just three.
They're my three. Give it your best shot. Hit the books and pass with flying colours. Thank you. That's all today.
You just whacked them in there without. I wasn't even ready for that, but well done. Well
Cheers.
done. All right, guys, this program was, of course, brought to you by the team at Enquiry Tracker. And if you want to discover how this powerful software can transform your school's operations, be sure to visit enquirytracker.net to learn more. That's the program for now. Until next time, be well.
You're watching Ticker. We'll have more in just a few minutes.